Hello, grade 7, Mr. Glico's Social Studies class. In this lesson, you're going to be reading a chapter and participating in the classroom activity about how Native Americans successfully adapt to their environment for not only the physical features, but to inform cultural regions. Today's objectives will be to trace the migration routes of the first Americans to the Americas, describe how American Indians viewed their environment, formulate a hypothesis about the origins of American Indian artifacts, and analyze in which American Indians of 8 cultural regions adapted to their environments. A cultural region could include the Southwest, the Northeast, California, the Great Plains, the Great Basin. You see, Native Americans of these early times were very resourceful people, and they had creative ways to adapt to their environment. If they didn't adapt to their environment, they would die. Think about how we adapt to our environment today. In the summertime, when it's hot out, we wear short-sleeve shirts, shorts, sandals. In the wintertime, well, some of you in the wintertime still wear sandals, short sleeves, and shorts, but we put on jackets, hats, and gloves. As you can see here, these are all adaptations natives made to their environment. How are these adaptations, you ask? Well, basically, Native Americans lived in a variety of places, from snowy forests to dry deserts, vast beautiful grasslands like the Great Plains. The first picture I'm going to focus on here is a longhouse that's basically used by the Iroquois Indians who lived in the eastern woodlands. Think about what this longhouse is built out of. I see definitely branches, portions of trees, and logs. Obviously, their environment must have a vast amount of wood. If I scroll to my right here, I have Native Americans here that are wearing, she's wearing a buffalo skin robe. She's carrying some type of spear. She has a teepee here. What is that teepee made out of? Is it made out of buffalo hide here? You have twigs here or sticks here. Why is this teepee made this way? Is it so it can be broken down easy to hunt buffalo? What type of tools or weapons do they carry? If I scroll back to my left here, I have the actual buffalo. Look how the Native Americans have adapted to their environment using the buffalo. These are all pieces of evidence, tools, clothing, weapons that can be used from a variety of different parts of the buffalo. Over generations, these groups of Native Americans, they developed their own cultures or way of life. A culture is how you eat, what you wear, could be the house you live in. And using these artifacts that you see before you here, that I've listed, that come from the buffalo, now this is one particular cultural region, historians have been able to group Native Americans into cultural regions. And these now that you know the different types of tools, clothing, food, or shelter that the early Native Americans could have adapted to their environment to get, what I want you to do now is, looking at page 1 that I've assigned you for tonight as homework, carefully examine the photograph of a Canadian forest. Imagine that you suddenly find yourself in this environment. Brush and thick forest of fir and pine trees surround the mountain valley. It is late fall and getting cold. The pond has not yet frozen. You must survive here for a year. On a separate sheet of paper, describe the shelter that you would build, the clothing that you would make to protect yourself from the elements, and the tools that you'd create to acquire food. If I focus in on this Canadian environment here, I see a vast amount of timber. We have that water here that we could be using for our food, also for other resources. And, think about the habitat here. What other animals would be in this environment? I want you to think about what type of shelter could you build? What type of clothing? Maybe what clothing would you have to make to protect yourself? What tools could you also utilize? And how would you acquire food, or what food could you actually acquire? This can be simply done by building a graphic organizer and breaking the information into shelter, clothing, tools, and food.